dit. Kate Mila Falcha. Welcome to Irish Granny Tarot. Happy Thanksgiving. Not a day that I celebrate much for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is it was just not a huge thing in my family because, it wasn't a tradition. I didn't really know from Thanksgiving much. However, for my husband, a whole other thing entirely, his family, he had a great aunt who was dedicated her whole life to genealogy of the family and actually published a book about it. And believe it or not, my children could be in the DAR if they wanted to be. They are direct descendants of people who came over on the Mayflower. I won't say who, but they can prove it. So we even went and looked at the museum back east, and sure enough. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving. And in honor of Thanksgiving, I would like to honor 3 remarkable, strong, and really beautiful. I'm not supposed to say that, I guess, but it's striking and it's just not fair. It's okay to be smart and accomplished, or accomplished and beautiful, or smart and beautiful, but it's really not fair to the rest of us when you're all 3. No. That's my Thanksgiving joke. Okay. 3 women who are remarkable for various reasons. And the first one is Deb Haaland. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The 54th Secretary of the Interior. And the first, if you can believe this, Native American Cabinet Secretary. What are we thinking? Born December 2nd, 1960, born in Winslow, Arizona. She now leads an agency of more than 70,000 employees. They care for 20% of the land in the country. They take care of the parks, the monuments, the wildlife refuges, and this includes bodies of water. They're responsible for developing renewable energy supplies on public land and public water. In fact, the Department of the Interior is the largest supplier and manager of water in 17 of the western states. She upholds a trust responsibility to 574 federally recognized Native tribes in the United States. There are 630 in Canada. She's a member of the Pueblo of Laguna. She is the 35th generation New Mexican. That's incredible. Her family goes back, I think, to the 11 or 1200s. Her father was a 30-year combat Marine with the Silver Star for saving 6 lives in Vietnam. Her mother is a Navy vet who worked for 25 years for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Because her parents were in the military, she traveled a lot as a kid and attended 13 different public schools. But she graduated from Highland High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She was a single mom. She worked at her child's preschool in exchange for tuition. She received food stamps. She worked at a bakery, and she struggled to put herself through college. At the age of 28, she enrolled at the University of New Mexico, and eventually she got a Bachelor of English. She went on to the University of New Mexico Law School and got a law degree. She and her child are still paying off their loans, and they didn't say what gender her child was. And then they gave the child's name, and this child's obviously out of college. And this is the most beautiful name. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, and I still can't tell. I suppose it doesn't matter, except if you wanted to copy the name because it's so beautiful. It's Soma, Somah. Beautiful. She is Russian Orthodox, which we'll talk about in a minute. She's a marathon runner. She ran her own business, packaging and distributing Pueblo salsa. She was a tribal administrator for the San Felipe Pueblo. She was the first woman who was on the Laguna Development Corporation Board of Directors, which dealt with native gaming. She has a commitment to the environment and to environment-friendly business practices. She has broken barriers. She has opened doors. She ran for lieutenant governor in 2014. She was the first Native woman to lead a state party. She headed the Democrats in New Mexico from 2015 to 2017, and she was one of the very first Native American women in Congress from 2019 to 2021. She focused on the environment, justice, climate change, missing and murdered Indigenous women, and family-friendly policies. And she broke her leg hiking in July of 2022. And I think I said she was Russian Orthodox. I said that wrong, and I'll explain that in a minute. She's Roman Catholic. I'm getting my denominations mixed up here because I'm so excited to talk about this particular fact. It's really interesting to me. I mean, probably to nobody else in the world. So that's Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland. And then the other woman I wanted to talk about is newly elected U.S. Representative at Large from Alaska, Mary Peltola. Now, she is a former tribal judge in Alaska. I'm going to say this wrong, but I'm going to give it my best effort. The Urut-Sarar-Mute Native Council. She was a judge on. She was the executive director of the Kuskokwim River and Intertribal Fish Commission. She was an Alaska state legislator. She's divorced and remarried. She has 7 children, 3 of whom are stepchildren. She is the first Alaskan Native member of Congress, and she's the one who's Russian Orthodox. Now, why am I so excited about that? Because it has to do with history, and it's so interesting that the movement of people across the Bering Sea and the gold that was in Alaska both contributed to the establishment of Russian Orthodoxy, lots of Russian migrants into Alaska, and they established communities, and you can go up to Alaska and see these beautiful onion-domed wooden churches built by Russian Orthodox people who helped to bring white culture, thank you very much, to Alaska. And there are places in Alaska that have Russian names. I just think that's very interesting. She is a Yupik from West Alaska. She was born in Anchorage in 1973. She worked as the herring and salmon technician for the Alaska Department of Fish and Games. She studied elementary education at the University of North Carolina, and then she attended several different Alaska universities. In 1995, she was chosen as Miss National Congress of American Indians pageant. She did 2 Yupik traditional dances, and she wore traditional clothing. She wore a parka made of squirrel skin, and she wore a wolf hair headdress and muklaks, which are like boots. In 1996, the year after that, she lost her first election that she ran to the Alaska legislature. She lost by 56 votes. Oh my God, who says your vote doesn't count? Later, she ran against the same guy, and this time she won. And I love his name. I was saving it so you could all relish it with me. We may mispronounce it, so it's either Ivan or Ivan, depending on whether you have a Russian accent or not. This strong Russian heritage there. She helped Lisa Murkowski run for office. Her husband is the director of the Alaska Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They have 7 children. And she just beat Sarah Palin for U.S. Congress. She got 54.9% of the votes. So I just wanted to honor some Native American women. Women are not elevated enough, and certainly Native American women are not elevated at all, and they need to be. So the third person I want to speak about, I've mentioned before. Her name is Joy Harjo. She's was the 23rd U.S. National Poet Laureate and the first Native Poet Laureate. Joy Harjo was her pen name. She took her maternal grandmother's surname, Harjoy, which is a tradition in the Muskogee people. And she is of Creek and Muskogee descent. She was born May 9th, 1951 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's a member of the Muskogee Nation. Now, another thing I'm going to say wrong, and I apologize, but I challenge you to pronounce Gaelic. Okay, Vibafov. I'm sorry, which is the Hickory Ground, and I believe that's a group of Native Americans. It didn't really explain it when I looked it up. She ran the Institute of American, she went to the Institute of American Indian Arts. She went to the University of New Mexico. She got a Master of Fine Arts in Writing from the University of Iowa. She's also a composer. She's composed and recorded 7 albums of all her own music. She has 9 books of poetry and 2 award-winning kids' books. And so many prizes and honors and honorary degrees and fellowships and grants and honorariums and just remarkable accomplishments. So, as your Thanksgiving present from me, I'm going to read to you one of her poems. And let me know if this is illegal. I hope it isn't, to read these poems. If they're published on the internet, available for the public, I'm assuming it's okay to read them. I only am concerned about live poets. I figure Shakespeare and people like that are not going to worry too much. So, this is called Once the World Was Perfect. Once the world was perfect, and we were happy in that world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began, a small rumble in the earthly mind. Then doubt pushed through with its spiked head. And once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration, for life. Each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, and hatred put out the light. No one was without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we had started. We were bumping into each other in the dark, and now we had no place to live since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A Wind Clan person climbed out first into the next world, and then the other clans, the children of those clans, their children and their children, all the way through time to now, into this morning light, to you. So, happy Thanksgiving. Have a nice rest of the day with your family, and slán go fóill and sláinte.